I think I'm live. I don't know if there's anybody here yet. But who knows? There might be. I'm trying to think if anything exciting has happened to me today. No. Oh, Megan is watching. Hooray! Thankfully, somebody is watching because it means that I am now just speaking to myself on a screen, which is really just a weird thing to be doing. Yeah, Megan, how are you today? Been a long time no see. Also, really guess where I am. Just look up here. I think you'll see some familiar faces. Oh, Harry's watching now too. Hey Harry. How are you? Oh, there's a third person watching, but it's no telling me if I was watching. That was quite creepy. It's like somebody's watching you. I'm good, thank you, Megan. I am good. Did you enjoy doing the dishes? Thankfully that was Megan's job tonight. Not mine. Woohoo! But Megan is very good at it. And I'm very grateful, so thank you, Megan, for doing the dishes. Hi, Fraser. I'm so glad it's finally told me, or you've finally told me who else is watching me. Oh, it's told me. That's exciting. I actually really like doing it on my phone, by the way, because normally I do it on my laptop, but for reasons I'm doing it on my phone tonight, and yeah, it's just a lot easier. So I think I might just do it on my phone from now on. If there is another time, who knows? Who knows what'll happen? Megan, you still haven't answered me. I'm pretty sure I asked you a question, but I can't remember if it was. Oh well, that'll be fine. The only downside about doing it on my phone is that I cannot actually tell you what the time is. I'm just gonna scroll down a little minute. Oh, it's exactly 8 o'clock. I feel like we should give folk another little chance to join. Yeah, I've gotten out to enjoy the sun today. I'm a little bit jealous of everybody that's gotten to do that today because it's been a great day. Hey Harry, how are you today, Harry? Good? Indifferent? Did you enjoy the sun today? I really want to go to a beach. That's what I really want to do. Yes, Fraser. Yeah. Megan did not enjoy doing the dishes. Does that answer your question? Well, okay, there's a massive clock in the wall in front of me, Megan, but it's actually fast, so it's not even the right time. So I'm glad I checked my phone, thank you. Oh, you've shaved... No, you've shaved your beard off. It was growing so well, Harry. Oh, rewriting your testimony. That's exciting. Is that for a reason? Yeah, so maybe we'll just get started because it's very exciting here. Although I ken that Alex is going to be joining us at some point as well. Oh, Megan is actually here. Megan has came to start the clock. I don't know if I can turn it. Can I? Here we go.
Is that accurate?
Is it accurate? Somebody can tell her because I've not got the time.
Well, it's 8:02.
Thanks. Megan, see, since you're here, you can come and pray for me. Oh, look. You landed your shell on that one, didn't you?
I certainly did.
So maybe we'll just get started. Fit, did you say the timers?
It's there. It's 8:02.
So it's 8:02. So I'm just gonna get started. But since Megan has decided to walk in the room, then I'm gonna get her to pray for me.
Regret doing that.
Yeah, you do.
I already fixed the clock for you.
Thank you, Megan.
Okay.
A little bit fast, but thank you.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for Donna, and I thank you for each person that's watching. I pray that you'd help Donna say what you want her to say, and I pray that everyone who's watching would pick up what you want them to hear. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thanks, Megan. Oh, we have Kenneth watching now and Alex, and I think we're gonna get started. I know somebody just said it was very sad that Harry has shaved. And I agree, Harry, I think you should have kept your beard. Anyway, we are going to get started. So this week we are looking at taking risk. And if you watch the Monday moment, we think, I know, very exciting that Megan did it. I'm getting distracted by these comments tonight. Sorry, I'll try my best. Okay. Yeah, so if you checked Monday moment, we're going to be looking at taking risk. And we read for Matthew, or I read for Matthew chapter 14, verses 22 to 33. I read for the New Living Translation, but I'm actually reading for the NIV tonight because I use my phone to read AFO, and I'm using that to go live, so I'm going to read it. So Jesus has actually just been feeding the 5,000 before we come on to this story in the Bible. And it starts in verse 22. It says, "Immediately Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of them to the other side, while he dismissed the crowd. After he had dismissed them, he went up on a mountainside by himself to pray. Later that night he was there alone, and the boat was already a considerable distance from land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. 'It's a ghost,' they said, and cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, 'Take courage, it is I, don't be afraid.' 'Lord, if it's you,' Peter replied, 'tell me to come to you on the water.' 'Come,' he said. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid and, beginning to sink, cried out, 'Lord, save me!' Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. 'You of little faith,' he said, 'why did you doubt?' And when they climbed into the boat, the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, 'Truly, you are the Son of God.'" And so that's the verses we're going to be looking at tonight and thinking about. And I think there's kind of three things that I think we can learn for Peter in this passage on taking a risk. I think everybody would agree that Peter took quite a big risk in stepping out of the boat. Like, I have never met anybody that has walked on water before. Maybe you guys have, I don't know. But Jesus can certainly do it, but no other human being in that time probably walked on water. So I just think it's a huge risk that Peter took, because I don't know if I could have done it, actually. So there's kind of three things that I wanted to share tonight, in fact we can learn from Peter in this story. And so the first thing that I think we can take for this story is that Peter had great faith. He had very great faith. Like I said, I do not care if I would want to have got out that boat. If anybody can confirm that they would have definitely got out the boat, I'd love to speak to you and hear from you. But not only, like, Peter had great faith, he actually wanted to take the risk. Like in Matthew 14 verse 28, it says, "Lord, if it's you," Peter replied, "tell me to come to you on the water." Like, Peter asked the question, he wanted to take the risk, and Jesus said, "Come." It was a one-word reply. And Peter, in obedience, he stepped out that boat in faith. He took that risk and stepped out the boat in faith that he was going to walk on that water if this was Jesus, even though it made absolutely no sense in the natural. You would have stepped out the boat, Harry. Okay, I'm going to chat to you later about that, because I'd be very interested to hear your reasons why. Where was it? Oh yeah, even though it didn't make sense to him, he still stepped out that boat in faith. But where did his faith come from? Well, his faith, I think, came from knowing Jesus. Think about it. Like, he said, they thought it was a ghost. The disciples thought it was a ghost. And then Jesus immediately says to them, "Take courage, it is I, don't be afraid." And then Peter says, "Lord, if it's you, tell me to come to you on the water." Peter has asked that question, or it's not even a question, but he has replied with this because he canes Jesus. He canes that Jesus has the ability to miraculously allow Peter to walk on the water. And how did he cane that Jesus had that ability? Because he knew him. He knew Jesus. And so that's where Peter's faith comes from. And I think we have to think about that ourselves. Like what about us? Do you cane Jesus enough to take that step out the boat? To take that step out the boat and cane that Jesus has got you, like he'll help you walk on the water? Do we have faith in him like Peter has faith in him? Do we cane Jesus like Peter knew Jesus? And I think that's something that we have to ask ourselves, especially when we're thinking about taking risks the night, that do I trust Jesus enough and have enough faith in him and cane him enough to take that big risk, take that big step out the boat and walk on water when it makes no sense to me in the world? And maybe the night, or maybe you could think about like, when do you need to take a step out of the boat in faith? Is there something that God is asking you to do? Is there a risk that you think you need to take the night, that God's asking you to take? And far in your life are you staying safe in the boat instead of the boat to the water? Are there places that you can, maybe God is just giving you a little nudge and being like, come on, I would really like you to go and do this, but actually you're deciding to stay safe in the boat because you just cannot see that it's possible because of everything that's going on around you, and you're looking through your natural eyes. So sometimes we just need to take that step into what God is calling us into, even when it doesn't make sense, and take that step out in faith before we see it unfold. And that comes back to Cain and Jesus. That comes back to Canaan, that Jesus can do it and that you can do it through him, or that he can do it through you, vice versa. Number 2, I'm just going to have a little drink of water because my mouth is dry and it's very hot in here. So the second thing I think we can take for Peter is that obviously we see here that Peter doubts. I mean, Jesus says to him, "Why did you doubt?" And I think his doubt comes the fact that he's looking at this through the natural. He's looking at it through his natural eyes. Peter, he took a step out the boat and he's going towards Jesus, and then all of a sudden he takes his eyes off Jesus and he sees the wind, he sees the waves, he sees the chaos round about him, and he starts to doubt. He doubts that, I think he doubts that he can actually do it, that he can actually walk on the water. But 2, I think he also doubts that he can safely walk on the water. So maybe there is a little bit of faith there, because Jesus did say, "You have little faith." He didn't say, "You have no faith." So I think Peter does actually claim that he can walk on the water, but he sees the chaos, he sees the storm that is surrounding him, and I think that's when he starts to doubt that he's going to be able to get safely to Jesus, because there's all this chaos and everything going on about him. He then he becomes consumed, and by what he sees around him, he becomes overwhelmed by this doubt and this fear that he was going to go down, that he was not going to get to Jesus, that the storm that was going on around about him was going to overwhelm him and overpower him. And I can, speaking to myself, I am so guilty of this, and we can all be guilty of it, I think, at times. If I take a risk and I step out of my boat, I step out that place of safety, I need to keep my eyes fixed on Jesus. But so many times I get caught up in what's going on round about me. And I'll share a little bit of this later on. But I'm sure we can all say the same thing, for we've took our eyes off Jesus and looked at the natural world and thought, God, how is this even possible? It just seems so chaotic. I'm in the middle of all this chaos. I'm in the middle of all this waves and wind and things that just don't make any sense, but yet I believe you have told me to do this. Or I believe that the way has been made for me to do this. I just didn't see it's possible, and that is when we start sinking. Is when we take our eyes off Jesus and we look at the natural and we try to think, well, how can I do it? How can I fix it? And so when we take our eyes off Jesus, we cannot see things the way that God sees them, because if we take them off Jesus, we're looking then at the natural. Just like Peter, he took his eyes off Jesus and his faith started to wither, and he started to sink then. But if we look at God, we look to Jesus, then we can walk by faith. And so again, maybe it's just thinking the night, well, what about us? What about me? Is there a risky situation, or is there something that's easy for me to take my eyes off Jesus, because what's happening in the natural, it just doesn't make sense. So I can get caught up in what's happening in the natural because I want to try and fix it and I want to try and do this. Where are we taking our eyes off Jesus? If you are thinking of a situation that you can recognise as a time for, actually it's a lot easier to take your eyes off Jesus, or you think it's a lot easier to take your eyes off Jesus and look at the natural, then first of all, I am sorry that you're feeling like that. But secondly, I think we shouldn't be too harsh on ourselves when we do this, because actually the first step in turning our eyes back to Jesus is recognising that we've taken our eyes off Jesus. So you've recognised that maybe you're taking your eyes off Jesus, and then you can fix that. You can look back to Jesus and then give God the time that he needs to give you his perspective on things, because although it looks totally undoable in the natural, if we look to Jesus and give him time, he will give you his perspective on it. Even though it might be months and years, it might be way, way, way off in the distance, but he will work things out for good. So fix your eyes on Jesus is really what we're saying there. Peter's doubt came for his natural eyes. If we keep our eyes fixed on Jesus, keep looking to him for his perspective in every situation, then our fears and doubts will become less. Because again, we get to ken him, and that's where our faith grows. And lastly, three things. Peter turned to Jesus when he started to sink. So Peter started to sink, or when he failed, you could say. And he did not turn back to his boat, which you could see that as like his old way of living. And so when we come across issues, when we come across problems, when we come across stumbling blocks to the risk that we've maybe taken, then we can so often focus on the situation in front of us, or how we would naturally take on something, and we can we can look back into how we've done things before, because that's worked before, or it's just easier, it's safer. But we can learn something from Peter. When Peter realised what was happening, when Peter realised that he was failing, that he was sinking, immediately he reached up to Jesus in desperation and said, "Lord, help me. Save me," as we said on this translation anyway. And Jesus immediately helped him. There was no waiting for Peter to get to the last minute for him to nearly be drowning. Like, immediately Jesus saved him. And he will do the same for us today if we turn to him and we shout to him and be like, "Lord, please help me." Jesus will do the same for you today. And we're safe to reach out to Jesus. We're safe to reach out to him. It does not necessarily mean that it'll be easy. It doesn't mean that it will be hard, that there won't be any problems. Like when you think about this, the storm was still going on round about them. When Jesus lifted Peter out the water again, the storm was still going, the wind and waves were still there. It was not until they climbed into the boat that the wind died down. So Peter was still having to go through all the wind and the waves and this big storm that was going on round about him. He still had to walk back to the boat with Jesus. So it's not always going to be easy, but we God in the vessel, we can smile at the storm. I'm pretty sure that is a, what do you call it, song. And so maybe we need to think the night as well, like, where do we need to turn back to Jesus for help? Where do we need to say, Lord, help me? I've seen this on myself. I focus too much on the natural, because he is ready to help you if you come to him and ask for it. But Jesus also asked Peter, why did you doubt? Why did you doubt? And it seems to me like that's actually quite a simple question that Jesus asked Peter. It kind of made me think that Jesus is making it clear to Peter there that it was just unnecessary for Peter to doubt because Jesus was there. Jesus had it. There should have been no worrying. Yes, with Jesus in the boat, we can smile at the storm. Thank you, Kenneth. And so maybe you're doubting the day. Maybe you're doubting about some big thing that you've got to do, or just even the small stuff like this taking risks that we're speaking about. It doesn't have to be the massive things in life. It could be something like maybe God's asking you to speak to a friend about him. Maybe you are you are deciding that you need to go to, or I don't know whether for whose household you want to meet up way in the middle of the COVID easing of lockdown stuff that we're going on. But maybe you're doubting in all of this. But you can reach your hand out to Jesus and he will answer you. I think we can take that lesson for Peter. So, just a little recap. There was 3 things that I think we can tick for this story tonight. That 1, Peter had great faith in Jesus, and that faith came from knowing Jesus. He knew that Jesus was able to help him miraculously walk on water if he so desired. The second thing was that Peter's doubt came from his natural eyes. So Peter took his eyes off Jesus and looked at the natural. He focused on the storm and the waves that were, the wind that was around him. And lastly, Peter turned to Jesus when he started to sink, and that's, Jesus is there. He was waiting for him, and he's still there and waiting for you today if you feel like you're sinking or you've failed in something, or you've turned your eyes off Jesus and have started to focus on the natural. Turn back to him and say, Lord, help me, and he'll be there waiting for you. And actually, I've just kind of had a little bit of this myself in the last 2 days, so that's quite interesting that I have then I've been sharing about this and thinking about this because, as you will know, my YWAM, what am I saying? Yeah, my YWAM got cut short, and so what I was hoping would happen was that I would go back to America in July or August and do a secondary school. And I was really sure, like, it was a bit risky for me to go back. I didn't know whether I could get the career break again, and if I couldn't get the career break, I would probably have to give up my job. But thankfully I've been able to keep my job. I've came back up. I've managed to get a little bit of money again, that was in preparation for going back. And yeah, so that was my hope, that was my plan. But yesterday I heard that actually the secondary school's been cancelled, so I wouldn't be going back to America. But now I found that out, and I was obviously upset. I think I had expected that would be actually if it happens, because I really felt that was something God had said that I would be going back there at some point. Obviously the time is not now, so I was just kind of working through that, and then I started doubting, like Peter did. Then I started doubting, being like, well, why is this happened, and why, like, why have I got the money for it, and why have I managed to get the career break, and why is everything lined up, but yet it's been stopped at the last minute and I couldn't get it. I was just like, well, why? Like, why, if it's been the point, if I got this wrong all along? And then I started looking at the natural and thinking, well, did I do this right, or did I do that right? And maybe if I had done this and that and all these things. But actually, amazingly, because God is good, I recognised that. I recognised that I had took my eyes off Jesus for that time, and was doubting and questioning, and yeah, just no really understanding why this had to happen. So then by recognising it, I was then able to turn it around and fix my eyes back on Jesus, and I was able just to have a time of kind of prayer and worship, and that is how we are to respond, actually, and taking risk. And I was taking a big risk going to America, just whether my job would be there for me and if it would be the plan after that, blah 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 blah. But that is what we're called to do. When Jesus gets in the boat and the storm dies down, the disciples worship him. Those that are in the boat, they worship him, for truly Jesus is the Son of God. And that's what we're called to do, and that's what I did last night. And honestly, it's just made such a difference in helping me process that kind of doubt that I was having, and the what would you say? Like, it was sad, it was hard to hear, it was disappointing. That's the word I'm looking for. It just helped me process that disappointments, and it's not going to be easy because it's brought up a lot of other things, a lot of other issues. That I might not have a job after next week, and things like that. So I'm just trying to trust God. I'm trying to have faith like Peter. I'm trying to keep my eyes focused on Jesus, keep coming back to him. And yeah, maybe I'll have to take another risk. Maybe God is gonna ask me to take another risk, and I'll have to go through all this again. But we can, because we can that Jesus is good. We can that God is good. And so, just the last thing I wanted to share, and I promise it's the last thing because I realise I've spoken quite a long time. How do we respond to this? How do we respond to God asking us to take a risk, asking us to do something that's maybe outside our comfort zone? Just like he said to Peter, come. And Peter had stepped out that boat. Is God calling you to take a risk? Is God calling you to come? Is God calling you to step out the boat into something that is so, just seems so scary, it seems so unachievable and unattainable, and maybe you're doubting that it's even God that's asking you to do this. Maybe you're doubting that idea that you had, or that thought that you had, is just a thought of yours. But if that is something that you're going through, like, God kens your doubt, he kens your fear. And so maybe it's, do you ken Jesus enough to place that complete trust and that faith in him, to take the risk he's asking of you, to make the next move that he's asking for you. It doesn't have to be a big leap into the risk. It can be a tiny step into it, and then you take the big leap further on. But get to ken him better. Get to ken Jesus better. Read your Bible, pray, worship, spend time with him. Are you looking with your natural eyes? If you are, then fix your eyes on Jesus. Again, fixing your eyes on him, getting to ken him. And maybe you're in a place where you feel that you failed, or you're drowning, or you didn't came fit to do, and things just seem like totally chaotic round about you. Then reach out to Jesus. Again, fix your eyes on him, reach your hand out. He is there, he is waiting for you, and he's waiting for you. And I think that's all things that we can take that little bit of scripture tonight. So I think I'm done. Sorry, that was quite rambly tonight. I'm hoping it made sense. Yeah, done. So thank you very much for listening. I don't know if there's anything I need to announce. We have Friday night, we have Upper Zoom. Actually, at 6 o'clock we have the prayer room. Phase 6 to 7. It is, I believe, Fraser and myself again. So if you would like prayer for anything, that's whether you actually want to come into the prayer room, you can come into the prayer room and we can pray with you. Or even if you've just got a prayer request, we would love to just pray for you as well. If you don't want to come into the prayer room, then we would love to do that as well. And then at 7:30 we have Upper Zoom, and my friend Becca is going to come and share some stuff with us. A few of you ken Becca, so she's looking forward to coming and seeing a few of you again. And I'm looking forward to also catching up with you, which is very exciting. I think that's everything, and I'm sure if I've missed something out, then it's fine. Somebody somewhere will tell you and inform you and keep you informed. Yeah, go and enjoy the last of the sun today. Maybe I can go and get to the beach now, although I don't have much fuel in the car, so that was a mistake on my half coming home from work today. Anyway, sorry, I think I'm just thinking out loud. Okay, we will see you guys later. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye.